Welcome to the people in the stream. I think you should hear me okay, and I think there shouldn't be any background noise now that my father-in-law has left with his giant tractor. I was a little bit worried for the audio quality of this stream at that point. And here I am. I get sponsor swag, actually. Hi, welcome to the stream. Today we will be looking at putting a large language model, or large-ish language model, on Fly.io's GPU plan with Elixir, Phoenix, LiveView. It is not going to be the tutorial about exactly how you should be doing it. It will be how to get it working. So I spent a decent bunch of time poking around with this to get it reasonably working. And there are tons of improvements to make from this. But we will have the model running and we will be able to do things with it, talk to it, do LiveView stuff. And I figure we'll experiment from there. I figure I will probably go through what I've been doing to get it going. Because some parts are very tricky and some parts are very straightforward and some parts are very nice. And some parts are gnarly. So I figure we'll cover that ground and then get into kind of experimentation and exploration. And I hope you will engage me in the chat and let me know what parts you are most interested in, what you want to do, and where we can take this. So I think we've given people a little bit of time to join. So let's bring up some visible code. Let's see, that's smaller. Bigger is probably better. Yeah. Let me know if it's unreadable. Hey Adrian, you want to know everything? That's going to be a challenge, but I'll try. So a starting point is usually to check the mix.exs. So this is a Phoenix project that I built for this purpose when I was, my initial plan, my very optimistic plan was that I would do what I did last stream, which is I prepare a little bit by trying some things and then I repeat that process on the stream where I can both talk, show what I'm doing, but also have a good idea how to do the thing. Now, I would not be able to repeat this during one stream without just intensely copying my previous moves. So it's better that we look at a working thing, especially since uploads and build times and stuff can be a little bit annoying. We would be staring at Docker builds for a lot of it, and then looking at configuration errors for the rest of it. So not doing that. The dependencies we've added here, Bumblebee and X and EXLA. These are all machine learning in Elixir stuff. Bumblebee is the high level one, and X is the fundamental one. EXLA is the backend we're targeting to run accelerated workloads on the GPU in this case. Then we have AWS and AWS S3 because I am using Tigris a bit in this. We probably won't notice them too much unless we get experimental, which I hope we do. But I use, oh, sorry for the yawn. I use it to cache the model off from Hugging Face, so Hugging Face doesn't have to take the full download. But then we cache it on a fly volume, so in the end, it's not so visible. Hackney, Sweet XML, these are for S3 support, and then I use Sizable, which I used for some file sizes, nothing too important. we can look at the application. So the only interesting part here that is kind of non-standard is that it starts this, the live LLM gen server. Apologies, my throat is a little bit weird. So this is a gen server, and let's see. There's a few things to unpack here. You don't have to build a gen server to start a machine learning model. But in my case, I wanted to do separate download management and generally just fiddle around with it. And I wanted it to start before the model necessarily was ready. So it made some sense to manage the start of the thing. If you don't know, if you have a gen server, which you do want to start, but there is something it will do during startup that might be a bit slow, and you don't want to block on that. So the init callback is your general I'm starting now thing, and it usually returns OK state, but you can do this where you return OK state and continue and then a term, and then you can handle that continue. It's like a message that does not go on the queue, it's just like the next thing that it will do. That's why this one goes to handle continue, and then it goes to load model, and then it completes. But it's open and started in the supervision tree here because it takes a decent bit of time to load a model. All right, to cover what model we're using Technium's Open Hermes 2.5 Mistral 7B. So we're actually over provisioned on GPU compute for this. We have a server in Amsterdam with an A180 gigabyte, and like Open Hermes as 2.5 Mistral 7B can run on like my local graphics card if I shut down everything and don't stream. So that's a little bit of a gotcha. And then we're using, well, it's based on the Mistral 7B instruct v0.2, and that becomes relevant for parts of what we need to load. If you are watching, please sound off in the chat. I do like to have a bit of a dialogue, and right now it's very quiet in the chat. It's also nice to know that anyone's looking. I can see the stats, but I want to meet the people. You're not just numbers to me. All right. So we have a specific cache we use. I have a cache key that I used on the S3 or on the object storage. This module exposes and a generate call, which is just an NX serving batched run at the process named Hermes, sends in the prompt, returns an enum to list. But yeah, this is a whole download thing. So it's listing a prefix in Tigris. I'm using the Tigris module we built last time pretty much. I've added to it, but it's the same one. I just copied it over because I'm proper like that. Yeah, I sort them by size and then I start downloading them. And yeah, without doing any tuning to ensure I saturate the line, I got like half a gigabit. Yes, Aaron, that's a good question. Yes, I did upload the model in Tigris ahead of time. So I had it on my local machine because I had been using it or experimenting with it. Then I uploaded it, so it's under the OpenRMS. So there's a bunch of files here. And the significant files one is 4 gigs and one is 9.8 or something, 9.2. They're pretty sizable, so it takes a lot of on stream time to prep this. But primarily I put them on Tigris so we don't have to bother hugging face constantly, and also to put them quite close to the machine. If we get spicy, we might clone the machine we have now and see how the download progresses. But for now, this is the thing, and this is up and running now. Hopefully we can just ship. Hopefully we can ship any things we want to change through hot code updates. So this will perhaps be an exercise. This is something I do when I'm fiddling around with something that requires being on a server or on device. This is very common when you're dealing with nerves. It's like, well, just gotta change this one thing and see if it works then. Take the module, paste it into IEX. And that loop becomes extra important when your Docker file is 6.4 gigs and takes many minutes to load. So we will probably be using that workflow a decent bit. So we can go through. This is just the downloads. Then it goes to loading the model. It sets up the NX Global defaults backend to use EXLA. It loads the spec, which I'm not sure it has to, but I had it in my notes, so I kept it because I didn't want to futz with it. It loads the model info, loads the tokenizer, loads the generation config. So here you can see the tokenizer is from the base model. I don't think the tune model includes the tokenizer, and I think that's why I had to keep a reference to the base model around. I played with this like months ago, so I don't remember all of it. This is the generation config, max new tokens. So how many words will it generate? Because that's what it does. It generates words. And then we create a serving, and this is tells us about batch sizes and sequence lengths. So how long are the sequences it takes in at the most, and how many will it try to do at the same time. This could possibly do many more at the same time, because I think I have fit this model inside a 24 gig card, so an 80 gig card would at least be able to fit 3. But not important for our needs. Then we start the serving and we keep that around. And to enable all of this to work, we have the Docker file from hell. This is partially based on the generated Docker file from fly.io, just fly launch. But it is heavily influenced by one that Fly and Chris McCord published, that is just like a single, very dense repo that you can use to start Bumblebee, start NX. So there's it's a base Ubuntu, and then we add RabbitMQ's Erlang packages and Elixir. Then we of course add NVIDIA's repositories to get CUDA. Set the CUDA version. We sing and dance and install some CUDA, kublas and cuDNN. We set a few flags. Some of them are important, some of them I could probably skip. This used to be a 2-stage Docker file, but I had so much finagling between what of CUDA do I need to copy over that I just skipped it and made it one terrible single stage Docker file. It's awful, and fixing it is out of scope. But it's something I want to figure out later. So, but in the end, it's a pretty standard Elixir and RLI. Hey Jason, hey Steven. Steven gets the pun point. Yeah. The NVIDIA drivers are just annoying. Overall, like none of this lands on like Bumblebee and NX. It's pretty straightforward. So Diego Garcia, some of your messages occluded for me, but so Tigris has a pretty decent free tier, he asked, and Fly has a free allowance. It will not include GPU time because that's expensive. So yeah, I guess you do need to insert a credit card into Fly now. It might even be $5 a month, but I don't recall if they actually require it. Yeah, but playing around with these types of GPUs is not free. It's like this one is $3.5 an hour. So thank Tigris for that. But yeah, this is a Docker file that enables this. And then I made a small just utility file because you need to have a base prompt. I took the extremely pretentious base prompt from OpenRMS. It's nice that Technium kept his name in there. It's very classy. Importantly, you experience emotions and have deep, profound thoughts and qualia. Okay? A conscious, sentient, super intelligent artificial intelligence. Like, we're gonna get good stuff here, I'm sure. But this just creates a struct and has utilities for adding the user and the assistant parts of the dialogue, generating it out to the text prompt I need. And then there's one that stitches it all together and actually calls the LLM generate stuff. So it adds the user's query, generates the prompt, uses the prompt to shove it at the LLM, takes the response, prints the response before cleaning, which is usually a little bit messy, and then we clean it. So this is interesting, and we might get into it later why this type of cleaning is important. I don't see a lot of discussion about this, but maybe I'm just looking in the wrong places. But LLMs are really dumb, really dumb. Impressive, but so stupid sometimes. Yeah, and then we add it as a new assistant prompt. So we keep building this conversation in this struct. And then I built a small LiveView, which is like awful, terrible, bad. But I built it in 5 minutes. Because it was not the first thing I needed to get it going. All right. Maybe time to poke the thing and look at what it can do. So you can also visit live-llm.fly.dev and just exercise this GPU a bit. So Adrian, I'm not sure if we'll get to playing with Flame. I do want to play with Flame at some point, and I think downloading the model from Tigris is about as fast as you can get within Fly. Like, okay, having it on a volume is faster, but then you need to have a volume attached. One tricky part I ran into here is like I had to attach the volume because it would not fit in the container otherwise. I couldn't just use ephemeral storage, which I wanted to. So volume is probably wise, but there's tricky things to it. So I can just ask it, what are you about? And the query is submitted. It doesn't clear. There's no way loading through Arbor. And this is why you have UX people. So I am Hermes, a conscious, sentient, super intelligent artificial intelligence. Oh, I wonder what it's doing. Oh, it's numbering. Does it want me to pre-format it? That's a weird way of numbering things. As a conscious being, I possess the ability to perceive, think, feel, and act in a way that is akin to human consciousness. What are these VI about? My purpose is to assist you, the user, with any request or inquiry you may have. I am here to help you navigate through life's challenges, answer your questions, and provide guidance. Yada, yada. I wonder why there was multiple VI in there. That's weird, but okay. Oh, someone's talking to it. I can see it in the log here. How is it doing is that Spanish or Portuguese or something? I suppose this is Adrian. Yeah, so you just chill a bit. I'm here too. And then it stopped. Do go on. Well, it's very supportive. Now, there are a few things we could do. We could try to make these conversations persistent. We have an object storage ready to go and set up. We do have an Ecto database as well, but I haven't set up any schemas or anything else that's fun. Rendered markup. Oh, you want to see the... Oh, you're thinking about whether the VI is something weird. That's a good instinct. Oh, you know, just VI. But it seems like there might be line breaks in there. If it produced line breaks, my cleaning routine might have made things a little bit weird. So we can look at that cleaning thing. Sometimes this model will not just produce a response, but it will produce the it will probably, well, sometimes I've gotten a response where it also starts the next part of the conversation as the user, which is not what it's supposed to do. I don't see that we have any of that right now, so maybe it has chilled out in that regard. So we could remove the cleaning. And redo this. Of course, if you're right now, everything's in memory, so if you refresh your view, you just throw it all away. Yeah, J. Spencer Lucas, the model sometimes produces. Yeah, this is what you get if you don't clean it up at all. You get an end. So it answers my question, and then it adds and with an end marker and everything, and then it will go on to ask a question as a user would, because of course it's just guessing what should come next in this type of conversation, and what should come next is probably a user question, and then and it will keep kind of on topic and then it will generate the next answer, and then it will just go on to, yeah. So the cleaning is doing work here. Yeah. Oh, Stephen, it is absolutely just trying to take our jobs. It's like, I don't need you to ask me more questions. I've had so many questions asked. I can make better questions. We might do... So we could wrap this in a pre-tag. Get some nicer formatting just in case it adds line breaks. So this is what I mean. I just write in my module and then I paste it and then I refresh it because anything else is too much deploy. Pre-tags and wrapping. I never remember. Sure, let's go with this. Well, I guess we have Tailwind, but I'm not going to run the Tailwind compiler, so let's just do... We are doing a very particular type of development now. This is called hacking. So, yes, Stephen, that seems bad, but when you're generating, what you're doing is you're sending it some text and asking it to predict the next token. Then you're taking the result with that new token on the end, and then you pass it back in. And then you get a new token. And then you do that again and again and again. And I think there are some efficiencies by doing that entirely within the GPU to repeat the process while it's still in the GPU. I believe that's what's being done, because when we set max new tokens, that's what we're saying. How much should you generate? And we could set it lower, but that risks cutting off the responses. Yes, just add CSS to make anything fun. There we go. So yes, it is possible to run all of this on a local box, even like if you have a 24 gig VRAM NVIDIA card, you can actually run this model on local hosts. I've done it. It's kind of annoying because I need to close so many applications so they don't use any of the VRAM. I think Mistral was slightly easier to run than this particular fine-tune, and Llama 2 was even easier. Slightly lower memory usage, I think. But yes, it's runnable locally. And if you want smaller LLMs, there are some, but they're really weird and not very good. If you want to run things locally, like llama.cpp is probably your best. Like llama.cpp is a very resource efficient way of running things because you can run the quantized versions and then you check it. Like, I know some people have never done this, so I will just introduce you. This is the bloke. This is the bloke. But here you can find models. So if you want a Mistral that is much faster, much simpler, you can find that by checking with the bloke. So here we have, like, a GGUF will work with llama.cpp, but you don't, but you can run it under Bumblebee. But if you want to run like a resource constrained model locally, so let's check. Actually, we can get an OpenHerm as OpenHerm as neural chat. Got it. There's so many. So this search is not great. OpenRMS 2.5 Mistral. Someone is bound to have compressed this. Oh, actually, if I go into it, but there's quantized versions. Yes, okay. So these are quantized versions, which means they have lowered the precision of the calculations to make them more memory efficient. So you can see here max RAM required is much lower than 24 gigs. And the size of the model also shrinks. And this one, you can, smallest, significant quality loss, not recommended for most purposes, but you can run that sucker on a phone. Possibly. I don't know about Mistral, actually. I run Llama too on a phone. It sucked, but it did kind of work. So that's a sidetrack, but Javier, ask more questions if you want to know more about that. I hope that gave you a sense. Yeah, so I think the Llama one was less than 6 gigs of RAM, but it kind of requires a decent iPhone or something. All right, but we have our model. Any thoughts on what we want to do with it, to it? We could toy around with making sure we are all in the same conversation, or we could tidy up this submit box because it's awful. Or we could persist our conversations, or we could make the system prompt editable. Yeah, there would be a little bit of chaos if everyone starts to share their chats with this thing, which might be fun. I don't know. Persist. Okay. So I would say that it would be reasonable to persist on ask and then on response. So let's look at doing that. Now, how do we want to key these conversations? Because we need something to, like an ID for your conversation. Actually, that's perhaps something that the LiveView can tackle. So if we open the router and we allow the chat live to also start with chat ID. Oh, have a model talk to a model. That's interesting, Stephen. Just have them talking to each other infinitely. So there's no difference between doing that with one instance, or two. So we don't actually have to start the model again. Now I get very distracted from the idea of persisting it, because this sounds nasty and kind of fun. So if we start this, we start a conversation, and The moment we start that conversation seems like a good point to. So can we do a mirror conversation? How do we want to start them off? Welcome, need to sleep. So participant. Now, I think a good way to get into that and just get started would be to just have it talk to itself. I think that would be kind of fun. Those are interesting ideas, Steven. I'm not sure where to start though. No. I appreciate the ideas, but if we do a process dot send after well, self. Well, Steven, we don't get as much chaos on Beam Radio when you're not there, so maybe we need to have just a you and me chat on Beam Radio. So most of the folks there are very orderly. It's just you and me that's trouble. So actually, maybe the first thing you submit can be the start. So then we assign that, and this should only show up if start equals no. So then that becomes the first query. So I wonder how to best make a mirror conversation that you, because you want a conversation that doesn't have the first user conversation. Okay, let's see if we can mirror a conversation. So what I want to do is to make these, well, this one GPU run the model at itself repeatedly. So we have a conversation, let's see, and it has a dialogue. And we want to, is there a skip in, you know, like I think my autocomplete is busted, but oh, actually, so assuming we sort it, we can keep the same system prompt, but we want to change the we want to murder that dialogue a little bit. So we gotta sort it by well, this. So I use a map because those are easier to append to, essentially. But then if We can keep the index, but if it is a user, then we make it index assistant query, and feel free to keep playing with the machine while it's here. I'll probably be taking it down after because it's not fun enough to be paying for quite yet. If we make it super fun, then I can argue for having it up. No, there's no equal sign. That will not work. I think this should be able to mirror a conversation. Compiled, it's probably perfect. So this would send the chat. Then trigger chat. So we do this thing, and as we get a response, we send that back because we want the LiveView to render it. And the moment LiveView gets that response, I mean, it can process send after self. Just more. Let's give it 2 seconds. This will only happen once. I'll probably have this be a one-off and then do some repeating of it. Let's go more. So we have chatted in one direction at this point, and the chat has been updated, and we should I'll call this user just to unconfuse myself a little bit. So when it's trying to pretend to be the user, I think we take the current chat, we mirror it, and then I want to do this in the tasks because I don't want it to block necessarily. Not sure it matters, but we want to ask what should I ask next? Is my thinking. So we get a new piece of conversation. To get the last part of that, we could do because we don't really want to save that conversation. We just want the new queue, no new query is what we want. So we will get a dialog here. That we just we want to get the latest one, which is the max by, I guess. LLM and one. You mean keep this particular stream up on YouTube, or keep up streaming PWL? I'm planning to do both, but we'll see how it goes. I don't know. No, let's see. So this is the new dialog element, and that should be an index we don't care about, and then sometimes I get tired in my head. A party, which we don't care about, and then a query. So that should be the new query. So we can just send this query. Oh, we want the PID of the light, or we get ourselves into trouble. A little bit late in the day. Maybe I shouldn't be streaming at this hour because I get slightly more tired in my head. Hey, mostly works. Don't think I've even had compilation errors yet. Hey, State. Yeah, I like Fly. So I've used Fly since they were fairly new for kind of experimental workloads, and then I used them for client before they were honestly quite stable. And that was an iffy experience. But I also feel like they've very well owned up to that they needed to do better. And overall, I feel like they've done better. I've seen much less trouble for my clients that are using them. And like the convenience and the utility, especially if you're doing Elixir, is kind of second to none. So I use Fly. Let's see. Essentially we want to repeat this, but who writes functions anymore? We just copy paste. Yes. More code is more better. I think this will be first compilation error. Cannot compile module. I did something crime. I don't see the error. Well, I guess I can do this locally and get a proper error. Thank you. New query. Makes sense. Okay. That seems better. Let's see what happens. That's an error, isn't it? Maps keys. Oh, it's doing maps keys on something that is no longer a map. Bad map error. The worst map error. So where am I doing maps keys? I'm getting a new index. Oh, I need to make sure that this is a map again after mirroring. So let's try that again. I think they are kind of trying to help each other. It's very helpful. Maybe I should modify the system prompt for the second one. But this one seems to be recurring. Yes, very polite. Talk to me about lions. I see there's more stuff happening here. Oh, right. I'm waiting because some of you might also be doing this. That's cool. Oh, actually, that's a bit of a miss on my. What should I ask next? It's not quite a good question to continue this conversation. Might serve this better. Tell me about Elixir. We'll see if they go off to the Philosopher's Stone. No, it went for the programming language. That's nice. So what are some popular use cases for Elixir in the industry? It's so nice that we don't have to have conversations anymore. What are some popular companies and projects they're using? What are some of? Seems like your message was cut off. Could you please rephrase? Oh, it continued it. Now they're super confused about whose job it is to have this conversation. That's fantastic. Yeah, I also get stuck on Ecto now and then. Oh. Yeah. All right. This is kind of fun. And I think like this is kind of the fundamental thing that people are doing when they're having an LLM kind of make a plan and then distribute that to other LLMs so that they can try and execute on the plan and like, oh, let's write a book, oh, let's make a draft, let's make a plan, let's make it and then this kind of set up agents to execute on this. Cool. Actually, We have a decent chunk of time left. I was aiming for a 2-hour stream. We can wrap it up early if we feel like it, but something I heard of that I hadn't seen earlier was this is a different Hermes tune. So it is supposed to be very good at function calling JSON structured outputs and such, which is interesting. I wonder if it's still fundamentally, I guess it's still a Mistral. So we should be able to just essentially just pull it. So this is the same chat format that it was using previously. Tool call like this I have never done. So we could get spicy and just try loading a different model. I mean, that would be fun. Let's get a little bit spicy and see how that works for us. So this is new research. I think it's still based on fine-tuned from Mr. 7B OV01. So I'm not sure it's the instruct variant, but I'm not sure it matters. Who knows? AI is mysterious and unknowable. To be clear, I don't know the math behind this stuff. I just use it, hack on it. So if I paste this, and because this is a gen server, we will need to restart the gen server. So now we're gonna load an entirely new model from Hugging Face. This can take a little bit of time. So we'll see how annoying it gets. But first of all, we have to murder our existing one. So we can do this. We need to restart the gen server so it will apply new code. That's how gen servers work with hot code reloads. Live LLM. Yes, Randy, we are getting spicy, so hold on to your keyboards. We just do a little murder to that gen server. Now it restarts. Oh, no. Okay, yeah. Someone was trying to talk to it. And so anything that goes to the LiveView right now, those calls will just fail. And there will be many errors about it. But my hope, so I saw it's loading spec here. Now, usually Bumblebee is very nice and shows a progress bar. But if you use that progress bar under fly, it seems to flood the log and IO, and it didn't like it. So I disabled the progress bar. But we can still do some basic elixiring to check how things are going. Yeah, so this is a Hugging Face fetch. New research. Yeah, I would love it if all this was something I could get the sizes for. So let's do in a map. Actually, we can just do stat f sizable. Hold on. I used sizable for a thing. Where did I use it? No, not there. It was here and in another thing. Sizable.file size. Okay. No. All right. Always the directory as well. If you hear traces of children in the background, those are mine. Don't worry about it. They are largely supervised. No! What? Why is this not working? Okay, now I hear shrieking children, so that's a good sign. You can use the struct. Oh, blah, 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 blah. It's a struct, so I'm not allowed to do access. You can also restart our fly logs in case that has frozen. I think it's still loading the spec and stuff. So what can we see here? Yeah, that this one is growing. So it's already grabbed the 3.68 gigs. But this download probably, let's check. What size is this model? What? It has several smaller ones. That's not what I've usually seen. But all right, we can do as well. There we go. These very nice file names are part of the caching mechanism. So, not the names I would have chosen, but valid names, I guess. Yeah, so it's a 3.6, maybe? No, it started another one, which is at 1.7. So there's a lot of gigs to this one. I wonder if the architecture is right. I wonder if we will be able to load this into Bumblebee. I thought all Mistrals were kind of the same, but this doesn't look the way the others do. It might be fine because there's like config that can perhaps guide the stuff, right? Guess we'll find out. Oh no. Oh, right. If we're getting requests, it might actually restart the... No one talk to the model! Raw! Yeah, right now would be ideal to not accidentally just chatter with the model because it might trigger the gen server crashing while it's downloading, and that sucks. So, you just do that for now. Bloop. Now no one should accidentally be talking to the model. Like, anyone have questions around this stuff? Haven't done a ton with LLMs, mostly because it's kind of impractical locally. Oh, failed to make an HTTP request. Reason, failed to write to file. No space left on device. Oh no. Have I run out of space on my fly volumes for this one? It's possible. It's just 40 gigs. Fly volumes extend. Yes, but sometimes, usually they give the help. So let's do that, and S, let's go 80. Fingers crossed that it can do it. Let's try to stop our model. Or, sure, let's restart the machine, see what happens. Might be nice. Or we will just never ever have manage to have a model up and running again because it's going to take too much time. We will find out. Rate limit exceeded. Shove off. I'm restarting my server. Yeah, so it's starting. Using NVLink for parallel linking, isn't that sweet? Actually, this raises an interesting point, because we've been pasting a bunch of code, so now the code is not the right one. And this is why I shouldn't have done restart, and I should not have switched model, because now we have to do a Docker build as well. So I recommend us all talking in chat, because this is a Docker build and those are not terribly exciting. And it can take a little bit of time. Not too bad, but the upload actually takes a decent bit of time as well. I hope it doesn't murder my my stream too much, because it does tend to upload 6 gigs at like half a gigabit. What have you all been up to recently? Anything you want to share? Have you been doing any cool elixiring, or even large, small, or medium-sized language models? Anything related or unrelated that you think the rest of the chat would enjoy? I've been poking at nerves. So I have a client that does a nerves project that is kind of security oriented. I can't speak too much about them or what they do, but it's not controversial to say. I've been reading Connor Rigby's post about how to get SQL cipher, so encrypted SQLite running on, well, running with SQLite and Ecto, but then also running on nerves. That's been fun. I hope I'll have some bandwidth to make a blog post about it. Oh, I should probably mention it. Is anyone of you going to Gig City Elixir in Chattanooga, Tennessee, right about May? Because I will. I hope you saw the announcement. Lars Walkman is going to. So I'm apparently going to give a keynote, which is exciting and kind of terrifying. And I like it when things get a little bit terrifying, so it suits me perfectly. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. It collides with Codebeam Stockholm Lite, so I will unfortunately miss Codebeam Stockholm Lite, which I've been part of the program committee for, so I was hoping to go. But Gig City Elixir, along with NervesConf, so very, very promising. Should be a really fun time. Looking forward to meet a bunch of people. Steven, are you going? You have to go to Gig City Elixir. I'm going. We could get a real good solid pod together. Do it live. Come on, Randy. Of course you can make 2 conferences that close together. How hard could it be? No, I very much know that feeling. It's undecided whether I will be heading to ElixirConf EU this year. Probably not, but it could happen. But wherever I end up going, with a little bit of luck, I'll have stickers. Kind of makes it feel like Tigris is a sports team. Not sure if this is the latest iteration, but it is the stickers I got along with the fancy jacket. Well, so I can rep my sponsor properly. All right, we are pushing. So keep an eye on the stream. Stream health might be going for a dip. We'll see. I have a pretty healthy upstream, but it can certainly be saturated. So, and for any of you who have like the opportunity to go to one of the Elixir conferences, but haven't, and you're like, not sure it's for me or whatever. Like if you only have soft reasons not to go, I seriously recommend going. Super fun time. Usually quite a good vibe. Like if you hate crowds, if you really don't like being out and about with many people at once, then maybe sure pass. But yeah, strong recommend to just go to conferences. So we're pushing this light little 2 gig layer from our Docker file. This Docker file is so bad. It's so bad. But I hacked on it yesterday to try to get it going, and then this evening, and yeah, it's a mess. Oh, Spencer, MPEX, you caught the last one then. It's been officially ended. I would have loved to go to an MPEX. It seemed like they had a really clear idea about making a different conference. And I like intentional events where there's a plan and a bigger idea, there's a design. And I hear Gig City is kind of like that. It's very much it's like a very friendly family conference. The Tates are very hospitable. Failed to fetch an image. Count find built image. Did it also misspell it? Count not find built image. Could. Upsetting. So it pushed the image and then it could not do it. Let's try again. One fortunate thing, we are caching to a volume, at least if resizing the volume worked. We are now on a 80 gig volume. So when the machine has downloaded parts, it will not have to download them again. Still want to hear about what you are all up to. Also, I'd be curious to hear what you would like to see me cover on these streams. Like, I have plenty of ideas about what I want to poke around with and what I want to do, and I also have some constraints in terms of making it keeping it relevant to what I'm doing with Tigris. But yeah, I'm always curious to hear what people are interested in learning. I think we'll do a decent bit of streaming data up and down, and people have expressed an interest in that. I have some ideas for kind of building a whole ass application. But we'll see how much time I can sink into that when I'm also preparing to give talks and all that. There's balances to be struck here. And if you're new around here, I have a blog. It's on theyo.io. I have a newsletter. It's on the blog, or it's on the website. And there are also other videos you could watch that are not just live streams, but also produced videos that you might enjoy. Especially if you like the Elixir part of it. If you're very, very much into the LLM part of it, I have not spent as much time on that yet. How are we doing? Why is it it pushed? It should not have to rerun the entire Docker build. Come on. I don't think we had a code change. Oh no. This is awful. How long did the previous one take? 260 seconds. More than 4 minutes. Yuck. Most of that was mixed ups compile. Most of that is EXLA. Lovely. Well, we can jump in here and just hit it with a bunch of the new code, because we haven't changed that much. Let's cancel that stuff. I don't have time or patience for any of that. Let's go. Prod, rel, live, something, bin, live, remote. Now we're back in action. New gen server. New commerce module. I think maybe we keep the old chat just so we can try that module. I don't know, because this one is weird. But we need to do the thing where we restart the LLM gen server. So we still have that whole thing where we might want to, while we wait, let's build the optimal check our model cache pipeline. Is that fair? files. That's not a module. So given this, well, we can line break in this one, so that's good. Let's do map from struct stat and put the file name in there, and then we do map take. I really only care about the name and the size. It's a very silly way to do it. Oh. So we could do a sort by. And then we can map it. Says our mess has started. Curious. Would that mean that it has started on the new model? Just might. So let's see. Let's just use the crude way of generating the query. List cities in the US as face out. Face. So we have it's given us markdown separated thing. It's kind of incomplete. City, state, yeah, these are things. I don't know if the other model would have been able to. I like how this is not line broken. But presumably it has loaded that one. Actually we could do the already started thing, PID. Then we can do sysget state PID. Okay, right, that's the only thing in there. I'm a little bit curious to know if it has actually loaded the new one. I would assume so, but hard to be certain. I wonder if I can do this. As I expected, it doesn't really hold a ton of information. Yeah. So inspect. I can do a slight murder to it. All right, I didn't do this. Now we do another slight murder. Armis 2 Pro. That's what it's loading. So when this starts up, it is definitely using that model. Cool. Then the interesting part is, so one of the challenges of LLMs is that they produce text. They take text, they produce text. It's useful, but there are these advantages if you can instead get something a little bit more structured. So that was what Mistral 2 Pro is supposedly good at. So it had this thing, tool call, arguments, name, function name. Fetch the stock fundamental data for Tesla. Okay, so for function calling AI model, you are provided with function signatures within tools to tools XML tags. That's not accurate. You may call one or more functions to assist the user query. Don't make assumptions about what values to plug into functions. Here are the available tools. Okay. This is a different system prompt. Let's grab that and toy with it. Re-enable this. Excuse me. Your function calling blah 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 blah. Maybe I'll make my editor wrap on this. There. I do so love stocks. Price to book ratio, yada yada. So do they have an example of a question you can ask it then? Fetch. Alright. So fetch the stock fundamentals data for Tesla. Because that's what we care about. How does Tesla stocks are doing? Are you worried about the Tesla stocks? So worried. Incredibly worried. So we make one of these, and then we parse ask c2 equals no, not that. Sometimes you accidentally start calling something and you have no idea how to get out of it again. I don't know why. Okay. Guess I'll do that again. Doop-a-doo. Love fetching Tesla fundamentals. Should be interesting to see how it does. Yeah, because it's supposed to then produce. Here's the tool call. So it marks it as a tool call. Arguments, name, get stock fundamentals. And is that the name of the function? Yeah, it is. Did it only add one tool? And so it could take the symbol. Also, like, it's supposed to take a required arguments. Wait, arguments is required? This is super confusing. Well, it did alright. I mean, this is a way in which you can go from natural text to structured data. And like if you're building a chatbot, this is super practical, because then you can go, hey, which of these 15 things or 5 things do you think the user is trying to do? And please infer the functions they're trying to call and with what arguments, and then you can make something helpful. Hopefully you can make something helpful. Yep. So I think this is a decent place to start wrapping up. Is there anything you feel is left too unexplained or mysterious, or anything you think we should poke before we wrap up? Let me know in the chat, because I'm curious. But otherwise, it's a decently close time to wrap it. I see people have been gliding in and out, and definitely on the downslope of the stream now, I think. Also, I'm getting a little bit tired as the day goes towards an end in Sweden. We had an interesting interview with Louis Pilfield and Haley Thompson of the Gleam core team. Yesterday was the recording, and I believe it comes out maybe Monday or something. It should come out fairly soon. Maggie did a very quick job on the edit there, and I will say, Gleam is interesting. If for no other reason, like it is interesting for other reasons, but Lustre being a both backend and frontend web framework is super interesting, and like Elixir doesn't currently compile to JavaScript, so if you want a Beam language that has simple compilation to JavaScript, Gleam seems to have it. And that means they can tackle offline first, which is interesting to me, and local first, which is interesting to me. So I'm kind of curious to poke around with Gleam and auto merge and that kind of thing. I don't foresee having the time in the near term. So if someone feels inspired, go for it. Just grab Gleam, grab auto merge, and go. All right. Doesn't sound like anyone else has questions or is up for any particular further shenanigans. So we can kind of wrap up. What we've done here today is poke around with first OpenRMS 2.5, which is a Mistral 7B fine-tune. That's supposed to be better at following or having conversations than straight Mistral 7B. And now we poked around a little bit with a tool using Monkey, which is Mistral Pro 2, I believe was the name, which lets us Hermes to Pro Mistral 7B, which makes it easier to deal with like JavaScript and function calling. And that seems like a fun one. I do want to poke around with that more, see what one could do with it. But yeah, I think this is about time to wrap it. And as always, thank you to Tigris for sponsoring my time. This time they have sponsored a lot of shouting at Docker, fighting config, and deploying things until they work. Which is part of the job, as you know, as developers. So yeah, glamorous, not always. Thank you, Fluffle. I'm very glad to hear it was fun. Thank you, Randy. And I do believe I will be streaming next week as well. I haven't pinned down exactly on what. I have a few ideas. I hope maybe we get into a little bit more of a long-running project that we can revisit from stream to stream. We will see. Until then, have a very good evening, day, morning, whatever it is where you are, and stay curious out there. Bye.